This is a story about love between a filmmaker and music. Yeah, okay, let's talk about film director Baz Luhrmann. The Australian director may have only made 6 movies, but people can certainly recognise his style. This is where many are divided. A lot of people find he's one of those you either get or don't, and honestly, I'm 50-50. There are some that I don't like and some that I do. But I think his best film is his 2001's jukebox musical Moulin Rouge. Now, I can already hear a few people going like, oh my god, Moulin Rouge, I love that movie, and oh my god, I hate this movie, it's such an over-the-top cliched romance. The jukebox musical, centered around the Paris venue, followed the love story of a wannabe artist Christian and a courtesan, the star of the Moulin Rouge, the Sparkling Diamonds, Satine. Now, while I do see where the haters are coming from, in that it is your standard overdramatic romance that's so over the top, but honestly, that's kind of the point. Luhrmann's objective was to make audiences fall in love with musicals again. Over the past couple of decades, musicals were almost non-existent, with movies becoming more and more realistic and logical and gritty. The only mainstream movie musicals were from the Disney Renaissance, and it's probably because in animation, viewers could buy the characters breaking out into song, but with live action, that's a tough sell. So when it came to making Moulin Rouge, it had to run completely on emotion. The story is not psychologically in-depth or realistic, but heightened with its melodrama, inspired by the myth of Orpheus and Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and relied completely on stylism. Having it be a jukebox musical also helped audiences connect, as it was pre-existing songs that we've heard before, so it lets us slip back into that musical formula. Yeah, truth be told, I'm not really a fan of jukebox musicals as a whole, mostly because they center around either one band or just a certain genre or style of music, so it kinda restricts the viewer in my opinion. But Moulin Rouge uses a whole range of songs from David Bowie to Madonna to Queen to Elton John. The musical style also translated to the film language, with the editing, cinematography, elaborate costumes, a tone and style that is completely insane, but mixed the comedy and tragedy almost seamlessly. It obviously worked, as Moulin Rouge did bring back the movie musicals in the early 2000s, with Chicago, Hairspray, Dreamgirls, Phantom of the Opera, and Sweeney Todd, as well as receiving 8 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, and 2 wins for art direction and costume. So, with the impact the movie has had, I was surprised that it took them a long time to adapt it onto the stage, as it just seemed like a perfect fit. But it finally opened in 2018, receiving 14 Tony nominations with 10 wins, including Best Musical, so clearly the popularity isn't fading. As it is a jukebox musical and the movie and stage show had a 17-year gap, it was obvious that they needed to update the music by adding or changing songs for modern audiences. I feel like that's a good place to start with a comparison. So, well, let's get that jukebox, or in this case should I say Spotify, and have a look. Yeah, jukeboxes are seeming much more extravagant nowadays, aren't they? If this is what we've got. Well, there were 2 songs that I was hoping they were going to stay, and if they were cut, I would have actually walked out. Thankfully, they didn't cut them. The first being Elton John's Your Song, as it was the perfect proclamation of love from Christian. Plus, in my mind, it is the most romantic song in human existence. Like, I am not even kidding. The moment I started to hear those lyrics, my heart melted. Every single time. The second was the Police's Roxanne, or as the film entitled it, El Tango de Roxanne, as it was a big tango dance moment, and it was gloriously intact in the show. Trust me, we'll get to the visuals later. However, there were some songs that were changed that I wasn't a fan of. For example, instead of Queen's The Show Must Go On was replaced by Gnarl Barkley's Crazy and Adele's Rolling Deep. Not to say that it was bad, but I loved how the movie paralleled Satine and Freddie Mercury's tragic fate, but keeping the show going and making the song operatic just made it so epic. Instead of Madonna's Like a Virgin, we get Rihanna's Only Girl with a reprise of Madonna's Material Girl. While I thought the Like a Virgin scene was one of the funniest in the movie, I do understand the change as it worked more with the Duke's character and Satine's conflict she's facing, so listening to it more, I'm actually okay with it. But the one song that I cannot forgive that they replaced was Randy Crawford's One Day I'll Fly Away to Katy Perry's Firework. I get in the show Satine is trying to give a confidence boost as the fate of the Moulin Rouge is resting on her shoulders, but surely there would have been a better song than Katy Perry. Most of the added songs, however, are a good fit. While Beyonce's Single Lady seemed a weird addition for the Sparkling Diamond medley, the introduction of Satine with Shirley Bassett's Diamonds Are Forever, followed by Marilyn Monroe's Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, was perfection. That I think her intro was better on stage. And if you're wondering, yes, she does come down onto the audience via trapeze with confetti. Literally like the movie. The inclusion of Lady Gaga's Bad Romance and Britney Spears' Toxic was a great one that got us to know the supporting cast a lot more. Honestly, I much preferred the supporting characters on stage than the movie, mostly because we spend more time with them. We got more into Toulouse-Lautrec as an artist and made his relationship with Satine more special, as they go way back. David Bowie's cover of Nature Boy was moved later in the show as Toulouse encourages Christian to go after Satine to win her love, not making the same mistake he did, and it made the song seem more hauntingly beautiful rather than the ominous feeling in the movie. I preferred how Nini was given more with both her romance with Santiago and her jealousy of Satine, but still warns her about the Duke. Honestly, thinking about it, I think my main issues with the stage version is our main characters, i.e. the love triangle. In this case it would be Christian, Satine, and the Duke. While Christian's anger is manifested through how the Duke treats Satine as a possession instead of jealousy, he just kind of appeared dull in my mind. The jealousy made sense in the movie as Christian is super naive and innocent, thinking all you need is love. He seems less naive on stage, so his descent into madness didn't have as much impact at first. However, the more I looked at it, it made a little more sense. The conflict from the movie was for Satine to finally sleep with the Duke, which makes Christian jealous. In the show, Satine does actually sleep with the Duke, but her and Christian decide to have a hidden romance. But the more and more time pass, their love deepens, which makes her quote-unquote relation with the Duke more complicated. It wasn't until Ziedler hooks Christian on absinthe that he starts hallucinating Satine as the Green Fairy, which I thought was brilliant, instead of just a Kylie Minogue cameo. In fact, that whole scene was stunning, with the use of the green colour and the glow of the absinthe, with Satine entering down the trapeze, making Christian remember the first time he laid eyes on her. I think what was missing from him as a character was his artistic side, as we see more involvement as the writer in the movie and seeing how the play within the play is mirroring the actual story taking place. Satine still faces the pressure of saving the Moulin Rouge, but her inner conflict seems to be more about what she will do once she loses her beauty, and with her illness only increasing her insecurity. Without the Moulin Rouge, she's scared of being kicked to the streets as before, so when the Duke offers her a high-class lifestyle including new clothes, actual diamonds, and a whole house, it is tempting. In the movie, her dream was to become a real actress, and would gladly run away from the Moulin Rouge. But without the Duke as an investment, her chances were impossible. So with that, plus saving the venue, made her situation even more important. The Then again, it did make her connection to the Moulin Rouge and the dancers stronger in the show, but I do wish they still included her dream of becoming a real actress, as again, it made the play within the play not that important in the grand scheme of things. While I think the Duke seemed much more of a villain compared with the idiot buffoon in the movie, it made him more of a threat, but his desire for Satine wasn't that clear. Because of her acting skills, the Duke truly believed that she loved him in the movie, and being used to getting everything he wants, it drives him more insane when he finds out that A, she doesn't, and B, that she's seeing a penniless writer on the side. In the show, I never got that vibe. I can only think he wants her because she's beautiful and the headliner at the Moulin Rouge. Plus, his comeuppance in the show was not as fulfilling. Now, I did like that Satine was the one to finally say no to him, but there was just something about Harold Ziedler saying no in the movie that was just so satisfying. In fact, I saw Ziedler more as a villain compared to his film counterpart by constantly demanding the sparkling diamond instead of Satine herself. So, I've talked about music and characters, but there's one major difference when it comes to the stage show versus the movie. And it's a prime example of the difference between theatre and film. While the musical still has the lavish costumes, sets, and atmosphere, it still feels different from the movie. That is the main criticism I do hear about the stage show, that it can't compare to the zany film language that Baz Luhrmann brought to the screen. The fast editing, the cartoony sound effects, the jam-packed shots while still drawing focus, and the dated effects that kind of make the film better due to how dated they are. This cannot be replicated to the stage. Well, my answer to that is for audience to really understand the difference between the two mediums. Yes, stage is not the same as film, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I've made that judgment before. Check out my review for the Edward Scissorhands ballet if you want more on that. But the important thing in translation is using the strengths that live performances can provide, and boy does Moulin Rouge excel at that. Because there's no editing involved, you had the chance to really show off the choreography. As I mentioned, seeing the tango as well as the sparkling diamond medley and of course Lady Marmalade were all spectacular. And something about seeing Christian and Satine dance around the miniature Paris and Eiffel Tower live was beautiful. Singing the Elephant Love medley as the Act 1 finale, I nearly teared up. My hopeless romantic side was eating it all up. Not to mention, the whole theatre felt like I was transported to the real Moulin Rouge in the early 1900s, as the windmill and elephants surrounded the auditorium, and dancers were coming out into the audience even during the pre-show. There were moments where I didn't feel like I was just watching it, I was a part of it. You know when you watch Lady Marmalade in the film and you think, now there's a party you don't want to miss? Well, you are now at that party. So yeah, I'm kind of split on between the two because they both use their own mediums to their full potential. If I really had to pick, I think the stage show has the upper hand because, as I said, it is like you are in that world. I know people who hate the movie but loved the show because of how immersive it was. The party atmosphere of the club, the awe of the sparkling diamond making her entrance, the inspiration of the Bohemian Revolution, and of course, the simple love story that can make your heart soar and break at any moment. So, if you believe in freedom, beauty, truth, and love, then Moulin Rouge on the stage is just for you.